Hey everyone, and welcome to Hero's Journey Physio Fitness. Our mission is guiding people to reclaim their health and become self-reliant. I'm your host, Dr. Cameron Hogue, and joining me is my co-host, Annabelle Rios.
All right, we are going live in 3, 2, 1. How'd that sound, Annabelle?
I was trying to hold back the laughter. I was like, man,
That's a little below my pay grade, but I thought that I would do it this
I
time.
know. Thank you for
That pay grade of 0, baby.
welcoming us was your intro.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode. If it sounds like my nose has a bunch of stuff in it, it is because my son got sick and then he got me sick. So here we are. But we just want to say thank you. The podcast is growing. Thank you for your support. Thank you for following and subscribing to the podcast. We just want to say too that because it is growing, we want to try and use this momentum to keep growing. So if you're not following us on social media, you should check us out on social media. You'll see we post more than just podcast things over there, and you'll kind of get the latest and greatest content and stuff that's coming out. And that's a good way to also share the podcast. Is most people have social media nowadays, so you'll be able to share it on social media, help other people find it. Right,
Come
Annabelle?
on, guys. You got to support us. Help us grow.
Annabelle knocking his mic over there. That's why I have to do the count. That's how I have to do the countdown.
I know. I don't know what to do. Should we just restart the whole podcast? Let
No,
me do the intro.
Okay, so this episode, we are going to go through how to lose the beer belly. For all you dudes out there, and maybe some lady dudes, this one's for you. So the outline what we're going to follow today is as such: how alcohol affects the body. We won't go into too much detail on that, but there are some things that can be said. We want to go over mindset on how to lose weight. There has to be a mindset shift in order to lose the weight, because when Annabelle and I talk about losing weight, we're talking long term, not just short term. So there has to be a mindset shift. And then stay tuned to the end. We've got 9 steps to shedding the beer belly.
And listen, there's a bonus tip that's you want to stay tuned for that one.
I mean, if you don't listen to anything else, listen to the bonus tip. And I also apologize, not just for how I sound, but the ungodly noises coming out of my body when I cough. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, Annabelle, let's start with alcohol and the body. With alcohol, let's back up. With the main macronutrients, fats, proteins, carbs, there are a certain amount of calories per gram that they hold. So carbs and protein, they have about 4 calories per gram, and proteins are and fats are about 9 calories per gram. So those are like the main ones. Alcohol has its own, and alcohol splits the difference at 7 calories per gram. So it's a little bit more than carbs, but a little bit less than fat. So when we're thinking about alcoholic beverages, the alcohol content in there contains different calories per gram ratio than the carbs that might be in there. I mean, if you're just drinking, like Annabelle says, straight tequila,
That's what I was telling him. That's the reason why people, whenever they're trying to cut some carbs or lose some weight, and they're not trying to drink as much, they drink tequila.
You sure that's not just
I did just Google when people started using beer belly. Apparently in the 1940s.
1940s?
Was when according to the Oxford English Dictionary, the noun beer belly was first used in the 1940s.
1940s. Yeah. Well, beer has been around long before that. Yeah. But that's interesting. I didn't know that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was like, when we were talking, man, I gotta look that up. When did that start?
So fun fact.
Why do they say beer belly, Cam?
Well,
for guys.
Yeah. So I think there's a misconception that when people say beer belly, they're saying that the alcohol goes straight to your gut, and it's stored in your gut because it's alcohol. And that's actually not really true. There's what we almost call like a phenotype for people, like males and females, and how and where we store fat. And for men, it's usually apples, where like an apple shape. It's all in the gut. Women, it's more, they say it's more pear. It's more in like potentially hips and thighs. So knowing that men typically store it in the like the abdominal area, most of those excessive calories that you eat or overconsume are going to get stored in your belly. And since it is very easy to overconsume alcohol, because not only is it, sometimes they got these light beers and different things like that. It just it's a way you're just drinking your calories. So sometimes people don't feel as full and they can kind of keep drinking. So for men,
and then when you start drinking too much, then you get hungry, and then you eat more calories, and it's just like a vicious cycle, guys.
It's a vicious cycle. So that is typically why it's called the beer belly. But while alcohol is a toxin, and it has to get metabolized by the liver first, it doesn't seem that alcohol carries any sort of higher rate of body fat conversion than any of the other macros, like proteins, carbs, and fats. So rather, it's still that excessive consumption of calories in any form, no matter what that is likely to cause weight gain and kind of fat in the belly area. Also, just think beer belly sounds funny.
It does, doesn't it?
Just kind of like the word belly. It's not a term you usually hear. Okay. So while there's not too much on,
That's a pot belly.
Yeah, that's when it's bigger than the beer belly. When it's a big old pot, aka or the keg. You ever heard the keg? Got a big old keg belly.
No, I've not heard of the keg belly. Is that
those
really
are different. Those are different tiers of
or
the
did
beer
you just make
belly.
that one up?
No, my dad says, I don't have a 6-pack. I got a 1-pack. This thing's the keg. And I was like, okay, Dad.
Well, there's beer belly, there's pot belly, and there's
keg belly. You heard that here first.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Unless you heard it first somewhere else. And then if that's the case, we're not stealing from them. So okay, that's alcohol in the body. There's other things that can be said about alcohol, and I'm not going to get into that. We're just purely looking at how and where is it stored, and it seems to be it's not stored any differently than any other of the macronutrients. So Annabelle's going to kick us into the mindset part of the episode.
It's hard to follow that one. All I can think about is the keg belly. I get it. Beer is easy to drink, consume. You eat more. You're drinking more calories, and then you eat a lot more too when you're drinking. But keg. Oh my gosh, that was too funny. All right, guys, trying to be serious for once. Okay, maybe for like a little bit, I'll be serious. So the mindset's really important. And I just wanted to start with this. I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know if this is your first attempt or if this is your 20th attempt trying to finally get rid of that beer belly. All I want to say is this time it can be different. Don't get discouraged and say, well, the 19 other times didn't work out for me. But I just want you to shift your perspective and say, okay, well, I had 19 different opportunities or experiences that I can learn from, that you can take away from. Okay, what went right? What went wrong? So see that as trying to just shift your perspective and trying to learn from it instead of seeing it as a failure. You can still keep going. You can still keep growing and changing and trying to reach what your goal is.
So you're saying view them as like an opportunity than a failure?
Yeah. I think a lot of times we view it that way, and then it's just like this downward spiral. And so we're going to try to shift your mindset with some of these different points that we're going to cover. But that was like just something to take consideration. That yeah, go ahead.
And don't you want to bring up the fact that with some of these things you might benefit more from journaling?
Oh yeah.
These things are more about like transformation than information. So like maybe you are hearing this for the first time and it's like, whoa, that's mind blowing. But it might be like, oh, that's pretty straightforward and easy. But it's the application and the applying of these things that is actually what leads to transformation.
No, I think with a lot of the things that we talk about is, yes, there's like the knowledge information of like, hey, do this, you'll lose the weight. But a lot of times you'll require like the inward change, the inward battle that plays into it. Yeah. So for this, yeah, for sure. I'm really big into journaling. I think Cam is too. You can either do it on your phone, pull out the Notes app, or if you prefer pen and paper. So definitely have some pen and paper, especially for some of these first two topics that we want to discuss. You want to journal through them. Make sure you're in a quiet place. No cell phones, no technology, nothing. Just you. Well, I guess if you're using your Notes app, but preferably don't use your Notes app. That's what I was thinking too. Like,
You'd like silence some of your
put on
notifications.
not disturb, airplane mode, and sit through some of these things we're going to talk about. The first one is kind of like your why, your North Star, and it's kind of cliche. It's like you need to have a why, but it is true. I think when we spoke with, I think it was Paul Horn, he said one of the first things he asked all his clients is, "Tell me the exact moment that you decided you wanted to lose weight."
Yeah.
Because most of the time that's their why, that's their reason.
And most of them who had lost a significant amount of weight had a particular moment or had a very strong why on
Exactly.
how they and why they wanted to lose the weight.
And you need that. And then maybe you can't think of that. Maybe you don't have that moment. So we want to work through a simple exercise, but you have to do it. All right. So most of you know you want to lose weight. So we want to take a layer deep. And you want to ask, I say 5 to 7, because it's going to vary from individual on why you want to lose weight. So you list out, okay, I want to lose weight. But why? Okay, I want to be healthier. And you keep working. And it may end up being that, okay, I want to set up my kids and my family for a better, healthy future. I want to break this cycle of, because maybe your family has always had health issues and this and that, and you want to break that. And that might be at your why, but at the very top, you're saying it's, I just want to lose weight. But as you keep asking, okay, but why is that? Why is that? And you keep going lower and lower and lower, you're going to get to your true why, your North Star, the thing that's going to guide you on this journey. And here's another thing, that your why can change. It's not going to be your why forever. It could be. But you need to have that purpose, that reason for this journey.
I think that's really good, especially, I mean, not that wanting to have a six pack is a bad why.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes when the tough gets going and it's like,
And they go and get stuff.
and they go and gets tough, and the reason is, you just want to be able to pour some honey on a six pack, and that's the reason, you might give up. But if you keep peeling down, it's like, yeah, that'd be great to have a six pack and lose the beer belly, but I'm really doing this so that I can play with my kids, and when they get older and have kids, I can still get down on the floor and play with them, and I don't want to end up like my dad or stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely going to help you in the long run. So I'm coughing too now.
Yeah, we sound great with our health over here.
It's a health and fitness podcast, right? The next one we kind of alluded to is you've tried 10 times, 20 times, 40 times. I don't care how many times you've tried to lose the weight. You want to reflect on those times. So again, journal. You sit down and think, okay, because something worked and then something didn't work. So you need to sit down and go through those different situations and figure out what prevented you long term from succeeding. I can't tell you what that is. Only you can. And this is a lot of that inner work that only you can do, because we can tell you how to actually lose the weight. That's the easy part. But you need to figure out
This
how
part's actually pretty tough too, because a lot of people don't like to think deep or introspective thinking and being like, well, it didn't work because of in some superficial reason. It's like, but no, seriously, sit down and go a little deeper.
Oh yeah, you can blame the plan, you can blame whoever. That's another thing too. You might play the blame game.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Thinking deep over here.
I know. Take ownership.
And the reason why it's important to reflect is because we don't just learn from experiences, we learn from reflecting on those experiences.
That is true. Do you ever find yourself just committing or making the same mistake over and over?
The same sins over and over.
Over and over again. Yeah. But it's because sometimes we don't learn from just, people say, oh, you learn from your experiences. Yes, but you need to take the time to reflect and see what was the lesson learned.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next one, Cam?
Okay, this one I'm guilty of a lot, and it's the all or nothing mindset. Typically, for myself, if I can't go 100% do every single thing in the exact order, then I'm like, well, the whole week was a wash, and I'll start again next Monday or whatever. And that's just like that's kind of how I'm like hardwired and built. Like I've got to make sure it's a 60-minute workout or whatever, and anything other than that is not good. And I got to make sure I'm applying progressive overload and eating the same thing for breakfast, and all that kind of stuff. And really, that is gonna that's the habitual. I'll start the diet on Monday. I'll start the diet on Monday. I'll start the diet next week, because you started it, dropped off, and then just restarted the next week, and that has been a roadblock, at least for myself. I don't know if
Oh, for me too. And it's something that I've been trying to work. And a lot of these things that we're telling you, you're not gonna solve it overnight. And that's one of the reasons. There's a lot of reasons we have our ending message, but it's one of the reasons why we say seek daily improvement and not perfection. For me, one of the reasons is like I want to have my perfect week, the all or nothing week, where I do like Cam saying on Monday I'm doing this workout, and then on Tuesday I'm doing this and this, and if I mess up somewhere along the way, I was like, well, screw it. I'll start again next week. But most of the time, it's like, I'll start again next year.
I mean, like the phase of life that I'm going through right now with having like a newborn and all that stuff is like, you can't do long workouts like during the season of life. Like you have to do, what you can. So like last night, it was my shift on watching him, and I literally just held him and I put my feet in the same spot, and I didn't move until I banged out 100 squats, just holding him. And then as he kind of fell asleep, I put him down for a second. He doesn't take long naps, but I was able to bang out 100 push-ups. And so like in the past, that would have just like, my mind would have just glitched, because like it wasn't my typical full body routine or push day. So it was a wash. I should just not done anything. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get something in today. So
it's going to be a big shift, and it's something that you have to you have to catch yourself with a lot of these and challenge that way of thinking. The next one, I think it's a journey. You want to have that end point, that destination, but it's not about weighing whatever that number is, or having the six pack, or being able to bench or squat a certain number. It's because what's going to happen after you get there?
you get more ladies.
Yeah. True. Okay.
The world is as it should be.
Fair enough.
I'm just joking.
But that's actually fun. But then you have to still keep going. You can't just stop doing what you were doing.
And that one ties into the deeper why too. You might see like, oh, it is actually related to my kids. So that is a journey to kind of keep up with that versus just a destination of the six pack.
Yeah, like that destination mindset versus the journey mindset. Are you just fits on the end point, or are you more concerned on who you're becoming along the way?
That's one reason why we picked our name of Hero's Journey, is the journey aspect of health and fitness and
becoming the hero of your own story.
Let's go, son. And that also means you have to set expectations. You have to set expectations to know you're there for the long haul. It's the journey, and
it's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard.
That's another thing too. Is
people don't like to do hard things.
You think that it's going to get easier the more you do it, but sometimes I used to have this big misconception that I was like, oh my gosh, when you're in shape, it just gets so much easier. But really, you're just doing harder things. But it's still going to be hard. It's just a different kind of hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Cam says from his professor, it's hard as just hard.
It's not bad, just hard.
Oh, that's what it is. I got the quote completely wrong.
It's okay. You had like 50% of it.
Yeah, I was hard as something hard.
You just like saying hard.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make you laugh now, man.
It's too easy.
Ignore me.
Stress. Stress is a part of life, unfortunately. You can't get rid of it. We all have ways to cope. Whether you say you do or you don't, you do. Some of them might be going against with what you're trying to accomplish. We need to build better coping strategies for stress, better ways to relieve stress. I'm not gonna go through all the possibilities because there's endless. Google it. There's journaling, there's walking, there's exercise, by the way. That's a great way to reduce stress. There is talking with loved ones. There is having a moment of season where you're saying no to a few added things from your calendar. There's a lot more, but
Yeah. Check out episode number 20 of our podcast. We go through a whole episode on stress management. So this next one, Annabelle is really big on.
it's something that I've been really pondering and thinking about a lot lately. As we put a lot of thought and effort into these episodes, and you're always learning and growing on this journey, and you're trying to find ways not only to help you but also to help people listening. And this is something that I was like, you know, this is what I'm gonna tell you. It's helpful, and it's something that has a lot of benefits, but it's not easy to implement. It's gonna take time, but if you can master this, it can help you in a lot of ways. And what I'm gonna talk about is delay gratification. It's thinking long term. It's almost in a way trying to help future you by accomplishing whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether that's saving for retirement. It's not fun. You're saving for your retirement. And it's same thing with health and fitness. Maybe I'm not going to immediately eat this saying that I want to eat. Or maybe it's with shopping, it's like, oh, maybe I'm not gonna buy this right now. It's trying to think future you. It's not going after the immediate pleasure, the immediate satisfaction. Because in the end, you're just gonna end up frustrated at yourself. You're like, oh well, why did I spend this money, or why did I eat this, or why did I again, also don't want to think that way too, but it's what you tend to do. You get frustrated with yourself because then you realize, well, I did this, but I really wanted that.
I always like when I help Future Cam, and Future Cam appreciates it when it becomes the present. It's usually something like having to do the dishes and be like, oh, I'll just put it off till the morning. And I was like, no, let me do them right now. And then when I wake up tomorrow morning and make coffee and breakfast and there's a clean kitchen, I'll be like, yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, because in the instant, it's like, oh, yeah, it's better not to do the dishes. But then in the future, you're like, daggum. Now I got to do the dishes.
Thank you, past Cam, trying to help out Future Cam.
So that's like the easiest way to explain, I guess, what it is. It's like trying to I think about it that with, okay, how can I help myself? Even though in the moment I am wanting something else. And a lot of delayed gratification, it's really linked to impulse control, controlling the now, controlling what you're wanting to do versus what you really want to do in the future. And it is something that you can develop. It's not like a skill set that some have and others don't. It may come easier to you and to others, and may not. But it's because as humans, we are always wired to seek pleasure, to avoid pain, to seek the path of least resistance. So we want to give you some tips on how to start working on this. A lot of this came from Tony Robbins. I don't know how you feel about him. It doesn't matter, but I thought it was helpful. And something that you want to do is you want to start small, meaning whatever you're trying to accomplish. For instance, he gave an example about eating dessert. Maybe dessert's your thing, and you're trying to reduce that immediate knee-jerk reaction of just devouring that cake. You can still have the cake, but in his example, it's like, okay, wait 3 minutes before dessert, because maybe you're already full. So you wait 3 minutes, and then you can eat it. And it's something small. That way you can have that quick win that, you'll feel better about yourself. Oh, I accomplished what I was trying to do. And then you keep building that from 3 to 4 minutes. You keep increasing it as you go on. And another tip was like, you might need to make a rule where maybe you say, maybe it's like a shopping one. I think that one of the examples that he gave was you like to shop and you're trying to cut back on your spending. Instead of saying instead of buying it right there, maybe you say, okay, I'll wait a day. I have like a 1-day rule. If something costs X amount, I'll wait 2 to 3 days. If something costs, I'll wait a little bit more than that amount. I'll wait more time. Just something for you, something that you know is going to help you. Or it could be that one of my rules is I won't have any desserts after a certain time. So you know what that is for you. And then another thing was like practicing gratitude. We talked about gratitude in the past. I think it's a great practice to focus on what you do have instead of what you don't have or what you're missing out on. Is remembering like, hey, maybe I didn't buy that same, but I still have all these other things. Or maybe I'm having to eat, I don't know, a healthier meal and you really want to eat like the bag of chips or something else. But thinking like, hey, I still have all this food. There's still things to be thankful for. And you kind of shifting that perspective of like, I am losing to like, I actually have a lot in my life to be thankful for. And the final one is trying to remind yourself of your goal. That's kind of why we're delaying gratification, is so we can get what we really want later, instead of all these mini little instant gratifications that at the end you kind of forget about them. But in the back of your mind, you still have that bigger goal, the bigger objective that you wanted to accomplish. So having reminders somewhere, whether that is in your phone or having it nearby or written down on a piece of paper that you review on a daily or weekly basis, saying like, oh, this is really what I want to do. Just keep it on the forefront of your mind.
A lot of that just reminded me, so I just pulled it up so I could remember the exact quote. There's a psalm in the Bible from Moses, and this was on my physical therapy school. This was like in the lobby, and it says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." And one of the big meanings behind that is, if we can learn that our days are numbered here on this earth, that gives us a wider perspective on what actually matters in life. It gives us more wisdom to know kind of what you're talking about with the delayed gratification of sometimes we want to be in the, get all these pleasures and desires like immediately when in the long run, they're not going to be beneficial for us. So being able to have that perspective, that wide camera angle perspective of, our days are numbered. And that gives true wisdom in kind of looking at it that way.
It is. Here's something that it's gonna be morbid, but you have to die. Physically, you have to die. And a lot of times it takes people being really sick or on their deathbed or being really old to realize, oh my gosh, I never did any of the things I really wanted to do, because maybe you were so focused on the now and not on the long term, not on future you.
Yeah. That not looking at your days are being numbered.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, all right.
Wow.
Okay.
What's the last mindset before we get to the 9 steps of shedding the beer belly?
The last one's a freaking banger. Stay tuned. Oh, make sure you're sitting down for this one.
All right, man.
So we've all gone through many challenges in our life, ups and downs, peaks and valleys. And you may not always have the headspace to receive something new or do something new. Not to use that as an excuse or a crutch to not start your journey. I'm not saying that. But it might be a barrier for you long term, and something that you have to face sooner than later. And what I mean by that is, we all have demons that haunt us, that at some point or another we have to face. And one of the ways to face them is you have to enter the cave. The cave is a metaphor from a Star Wars movie.
Yoda.
From Master Yoda. I think you probably said it backwards, but it was
you're saying Yoda Master?
Yeah, Yoda Master.
It's Master Yoda.
And at the time I didn't understand it, but as I grew to understand what was happening, is he asked to Luke Skywalker, he's like, You must enter the cave. And he's like, well, what's in there? Well, only what you take with you. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute. So what are you taking with you when you enter your cave? What are you carrying? What are you going to see when you enter? But it's something you must do to be able to create space in your mind to add better things, to add what we're talking about, to be able to change yourself, your family, and be that person that you've always wanted to be.
That's good, man. That's really deep. That always kind of reminds me when you're talking about facing your demons in the cave and stuff like that. About there's the story in the Bible of Jesus saying, you can cast out all these demons out of this person. There's like a legion of them, multiple, and if you don't, fill it with something better, they'll come back with vengeance. So it's not just about taking things out, like you're saying, but it's about putting good things in. So you can get the demons out, but you need to replace them with good things.
Better things that are actually going to be fruitful.
All right, the moment you've all been waiting for. 9 steps
You
to
got your
shedding.
mind right, now let's get your body right.
Got to start with the mind, though. So we got 9 steps to shedding the beer belly. Okay, so we're writing these down. Number 1 is you need to start tracking your food. This is not a long-term thing, but you need to start tracking. And we're not even saying what were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say yes. You're absolutely right, and there's been several studies to show that once you start tracking, a lot of changes are gonna happen. We all want to get to mindful eating and get to the point of not having to track, but it starts somewhere, and this is where it starts to create awareness. Go
And
ahead, Doc.
and this is not even saying you're trying to hit a certain calorie or macro or protein or anything. It's just you're just writing these down. You're just tracking. You're not even like having to calculate anything. And like Animal said, there's actually weight loss that can kind of occur from that because you start to see like, man, I'm eating like junk. Like, man, I didn't realize I was eating or drinking 2 venti lattes or whatever. I don't go to Starbucks, but I think that's the large, right? It's the large of venti.
They're all large, Cam, in different languages. Have you seen that clip?
No,
I'll show you later. Anyways, continue.
Okay, so you'll start to kind of see how you're eating, and people will start making adjustments just automatically because they're writing it down. But then after that, number 2 is we do want to set a daily caloric goal. And if you're trying
maybe
to
back up, how long should it do for step 1?
I would recommend anywhere from like 1 week up to a month potentially, but definitely a week. You definitely want to track for a week and kind of see. That's pretty hard. Especially if you're not wanting to actually track your caloric and macros, that's a little easier to just track without having to hit numbers. So you could do it for a little bit longer, but I'd say at least a week.
Cool.
So yeah, number 2, you want to set that daily caloric goal. And if you're trying to shed the beer belly, it needs to be in some sort of deficit. Now, what that means is, depending on the deficit, it will depend on how much weight you lose. We actually recommend something kind of small. So if you want to lose a pound a week, that's about a 500 calorie deficit a day. But we even think that if you were to cut it to 200 to 300 calories a day, you'll lose weight a little bit slower, but you'll be less hungry. You'll be more likely to kind of stick with it. So you can always consult with a healthcare professional, dietitian, coach to kind of help you with setting your calories. But, a lot of people know how to do this. So
there's also a lot of tools out there and that you can find to help you estimate what your caloric intake should be. So we can link some below to help you.
So that's number 2. Step number 2. What's step number 3, Annabelle?
So we need to seek okay, first of all, I'm going to go on a little rant. But people always tell you need to eat this way, you need to eat that way. And it becomes almost like a cult, like a religion, that you're either keto, you're either vegan, you're either carnivore, this or that. What we're going to tell you is simpler. Is try to make sure that you're getting nutrient-dense foods from a single or maybe a few ingredients. That is the simplest way to put it. So 80% of your foods should be that. So whether that's eating, if you eat meat, some meat, vegetables, just trying to make sure all that's like 80%. And then 20%, I don't care.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
It doesn't matter.
I think we
Tequila
all.
over beer, of course.
Yeah. How's it good? Drink some beer to get the beer belly back.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of intuitively knows what healthy and unhealthy choices are.
Yeah.
So even if you're like, well, what is like, you kind of know. The Pop Tart that you're eating for breakfast, that's not healthy.
You know. A lot of this stuff you kind of already know.
So that's number 3, 80-20 split. Number 4 is you need to start getting enough protein in your diet. And we've labeled, or we ordered these so that you do step 1, and then you do step 2, and then you do step 3. That way you're not doing these all at once.
So it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, you do this all at once, you'll burn out. So you just slowly start incorporating and working down these steps.
You're stacking.
You're stacking wins, baby. So you want to get, for males, about 1 gram of protein per desired body weight, whether that your desired body weight is your current, or if you're wanting to lose or gain weight, it'd be 1 gram. For ladies, we're looking at like 0.7, 0.8, and this is high. This is a lot of protein, but this is what actually helps build or preserve muscle while you're trimming the fat. So you don't want to sleep on protein, and protein we've talked in the past, it has way more benefits than just trying to build muscle. It's the building block of almost all lean tissue that's not like adipose or fat tissue. So it's the building block of a lot of those things.
And it keeps you full when you're cutting.
Again, just continued added benefits. All right, what's number 5?
Another thing. Once you start doing this tracking and trying to calculate your caloric intake and whatnot, there are some things to look out for, some hidden calories. And a lot of them is in cooking oils. The oils have calories. And then the sauces. The sauces, they get you.
Oh.
You order grilled nuggets from Chick-fil-A. You think you're being healthy. And then you're like, I'll just get some sauces.
They baptize these things in the Chick-fil-A sauce.
They're drowning them in sauce. And the sauce has like a little packet can have like 100 calories. And you're like, oh my gosh, 100 calories for a little packet. So choose
the little
wisely.
nugs are going,
Be careful.
just drowning in that sauce.
So you gotta be looking out for the sauces and the oils, and also in general rule of thumb, whenever you're eating out in a restaurant or a fast food chain has a certain caloric intake on there, you can generally add about 200 to 300 calories to it.
That's they go on the lesser
lower
end.
end.
Yeah,
And then also when you go to Chipotle and sometimes they're a little happy and they give you a little extra rice, little extra beans, you're like, thank you. You gotta add those calories too.
So number 6, kind of tied into number 5, is reading food labels, paying attention to what the calories are in the bag, paying attention to the ingredient list. We have a whole episode on how to read food labels, but if you look at the ingredients, the first ingredient is the one that's in most abundance, and then all the way towards the end is the ones that are in least abundance. So that's number 6. Number 7, Annabelle.
All right. At this point, you're eating a little bit better already. You're reading your food labels. You know about the sauces and the oils. You want to start measuring and weighing your food. This is going to get you as close as possible to what the caloric intake. Because when you read your food label, it'll tell you on the back. It'll say, okay, it has 100 calories. But then it tells you for what the serving size is, and then what the ounces or gram, whatever it utilizes. That's how you're going to now be able to do it correctly and know, okay, I'm actually eating 100 calories of rice. If not, you're not going to be completely sure, but that's fine. We're working through these different steps.
And number 8 is just increasing your daily steps. The average American walks almost less than like 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day, which is not much. So, the more you can increase your steps, a lot of people say you need to get about 10,000 a day. It just depends on your goals. But even if you were to try and increase by 500, 1,000 every day or for like a week, and then week by week you're adding up, use your lunch breaks. Maybe you get a little walk in before work, a little walk after work, different things like that where you're just kind of adding in those steps. So that's definitely going to help you burn some calories, be a little healthier, and help you shed that beer belly.
There's so many benefits to walking. Check out our episode on the power of walking. We're just plugging all the episodes, aren't we?
I have no shame, Annabelle. I have no shame.
No, we'll keep plugging. And this one, the last one, you need to be consistent. I know. It's so cliche. You're tired of people telling you that. That's why you need to start small. You look at all these people, these fitness influencers or celebrities, they have like this laundry list of things that they do. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. It's like, you're right, you can't, because you're just starting your journey. One day you will. You're going to stack your wins as you keep progressing. So maybe 1 year, all right, I'm really consistent with lifting now. I'll lift 3 times a week. It may not be a year, it's just an attempt. Then you keep stacking something else, and then still something else, and then something else. And then one day someone's gonna look at you, it's like, oh my gosh, how do you do all those things? You're like, I did it over time. But again, we want that instant gratification. We want to be able to do all those things today and not think long term. A lot of us think in week and months. We need to start thinking in years
Then you crash and burn.
or even decades.
Yeah. All right, Annabelle, you were really excited about the bonus tip, so I'm going to let you let you tell the bonus tip. Don't want to take your thunder.
Well, it's true what I'm about to say. So I worked at a restaurant for a little bit, guys. And I always see every dad do this. You know, they eat their meal, and then guess what happens? The kids don't finish their food. And the wife doesn't finish her food. Well, I guess I'll eat it. What happens? You're eating all these other excess calories.
That's and there's also, it's not just even that, but I think if you're a cheapo, kind of like I am, you're like, I don't want to waste food. Let me just eat it. We don't waste food around here.
Exactly. So here's 2 options. Well, there's 3, but you can get rid of it and throw it away. But I don't. It's up to you. That's not my first option, but it is an option. Option 2 is just take it home. Store it for another day. Wow. Boom. Option 3 is you order a little bit less for yourself because you know you're going to eat the leftovers. Yeah.
Those are good options, man. This is actually a really powerful bonus tip because we all
For
eat.
the dads out there, you always eat the leftovers.
Yeah, I like that, man. So just to kind of recap everything, there's mindset and then there's these action steps. We started with mindset because you got to get your mind right before you can actually take the right steps. Most of you might want to look over the mindset, but I'm telling you, get that journal out, start working through some of those things. You don't have to work through all of them. You know the ones that you probably need to kind of focus on, and whether it's your why, whether it's still, you know you. So sit down and kind of work through that. And then you can get to these steps and just take it one step at a time. And with that too, sometimes it can feel overwhelming, kind of daunting. You could feel like you're alone and all that. And what we're just here to tell you is that you're not alone in your journey. You know, you do have this podcast. You're following us on social media. You kind of have our content coming out. But also, you can reach out to us. We do online coaching. And if you are needing help, if you're struggling to lose the beer belly, you need to get strong, reach out to us. It would be a super chill call. We're just going to look at like kind of where you are currently, where you want to be, what's holding you back, and if we can help. And if we can't help, we'll point you in the right direction. Super chill. But that's all that I got, Annabelle.
Remember, you're a human. You should not seek perfection, but daily improvement.
All right. See you guys.
See you guys.